In this video, we're going to compare the Rode Podmic to the Shure SM7B. We're going to go through all the specs, we're going to do a whole bunch of different tests, and then of course we're going to use our own report card to compare both of these microphones to each other so you can make the best decision possible if you're buying a microphone for podcasting, live streaming, or vocal recording. Now, first of all, in this video, both of these microphones are connected to the Rodecaster Duo. There's no processing on these microphones at all whatsoever. You're just listening to the raw feed of either one of these microphones. For the Rode Podmic, we're using about 53 dB of gain, and the Shure SM7B is using 59 dB of gain. If you are looking for current up-to-date pricing or specs for either one of these microphones, we do have links down in the description below where you can find everything that you see in this video from a variety of online retailers to make sure that you are getting the best price possible. Now, in terms of first impressions and build quality, the Rode Podmic is a really heavy microphone. We're going to cover that in the specs. It has an all-metal design here, a metal grill. On the back of the microphone, you can see the XLR output on the back of this microphone. In terms of a mount, it has a full metal, full yoke mount on this microphone that you can take off and flip and invert if you want or need to for the setup of your video. And at the top of the microphone for the actual mounting, you don't need any type of thread adapter because this is double tapped with both thread sizes, so it'll fit every mic stand or boom arm that you're wanting to connect. Next, for the Shure SM7B, it is all metal design. It does come with a foam windscreen and an alternate foam windscreen. I'm using the narrower, more popular foam windscreen for the purposes of this video today. You can take this off and you can see the metal protection around the capsule of the microphone. Then you can put it back on. Towards the rear of the microphone here, you can see that there are two switches. We're not going to cover them too deeply in this video, but one is a high pass filter or a low cut, which rolls off the lower frequencies of this microphone, and the other is a mid boost. For the purposes of this video comparing these microphones to one another, we're going to leave these switches in the flat position so we can more accurately compare these microphones. In terms of mounting the microphone, there is a full metal yoke, just like the Rode Podmic. You can take it off, flip it, or invert it if you want. As we move up towards the mounting position of the microphone, you can see that the XLR output is conveniently ran, so the cable management is a little bit easier with the Shure SM7B. Next, let's take a look at the specs of these microphones, just again to give us a little bit more context on these microphones. For the Rode Podmic, it's an XLR dynamic microphone with a cardioid polar pattern. It's an end address microphone with a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. It has a sensitivity of -57 dB, and it weighs 937 grams, or about 2 pounds. Next, for the Shure SM7B, it's also an XLR dynamic microphone with a cardioid polar pattern. It's an end address microphone with a frequency response of 50 Hz to 20 kHz. It has a sensitivity of -59 dB, a max SBL of 180 dB, and it weighs 764 grams. Next, let's take a look at the frequency response graphs of these microphones, again, just to give us a little bit more context. Rode has actually published two different frequency response graphs for the Rode Podmic over time. Here's the more recent version that I'm going to show you on the screen right now. The one thing I want to show you in this screen is that if we look at the green line, which is if you're within 3 inches of the microphone or 10 centimeters of the microphone, you can see that this is a V-shaped frequency response. Has a really big bump on the low end and really big bump on the upper frequencies. So if you hear somebody call the Rode Podmic a V-shaped microphone, this is what they're talking about. For the purposes of this video, though, I'm going to refer mostly to the frequency response graph that was first published. I think it's a little bit easier to tell what's going on with this microphone. So below 100 Hz here, you can see that it is rolled off from 100 Hz all the way down. After that, you can see that there's a pretty big boost of about 5 dB at 150 Hz. This is to give some strength in the low end, but they don't want that boosted presence in the low end to be rattling your subwoofer. So it is pretty controlled here, giving you what you want in the microphone, a big bass boost. At least a lot of people do want that. And then after that, it does scoop and it cleans out at about 450 Hz. This is a really good area to remove mud from a microphone. You can see that they've done that here. Next, you can see that there's a small peak just shy of 1000 Hz. And then it crawls up a little bit at 1000, 2000, 3000 Hz. There's a peak here. Then there's another peak, a cut, then a peak before it eventually rolls off at 11,000 Hz. Now, when we compare this to the Shure SM7B, you're going to see a very different feel from the frequency response of this microphone. For this video, We're mostly concerned with the solid line here. So on the Shure SM7B, there is a bass roll-off again from 100 Hz down, just like the Rode Podmic, but it's a little bit more conservative in these lower frequencies. We don't see that big bump at 150 Hz. Here you could tell that there is some low-mid scooping, like the Rode Podmic. It's just a little bit more subtle. Through the mids though, you can see that it's a lot more flat. Then in the upper frequency, you can see there's two small peaks. And then the upper air frequencies, you can see that there's a lot of cutting and sculpting going on here before it rolls off at about 11 or 12,000 Hertz, just like the Rode Podmic. Next, let's do some practical tests with these microphones just to give you some highlights here, some things to look for when you are comparing them. First, let's do a plosive test. I'm going to look directly into the microphones in a worst case scenario and do some plosives here just so you can hear how they react to that. Peter put peanut butter on his pineapple pizza. 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 Next, let's do a background noise test. This is what the Rode Podmic sounds like with the keyboard and mouse going in the background. This is what the Shure SM7B sounds like with the same keyboard and mouse going in the background. This is what the Rode Podmic sounds like if you have rustling paper in the background of your recording. This is what the Shure SM7B sounds like if you have rustling paper going in the background of your recording. Now, when we're looking at the off-axis noise rejection, I find it really helpful to use a white noise machine, again, just to help us figure out exactly how well these microphones do at rejecting off-axis noise. Now, if you move or adjust your Rode Podmic throughout your recording, podcast, or live stream, this is what it sounds like if you grab and move the Rode Podmic. Now, if you grab or move the Shure SM7B throughout your podcast, live stream, or recording, this is what it sounds like with the noise that it picks up or generates with that movement. This is what it sounds like if you tap or bump the Rode Podmic. This is what it sounds like if you tap or bump the Shure SM7B. This is what it sounds like if you turn on processing with the Rodecaster Duo. This is not the specific preset that's made for the Rode Podmic. This is the generic dynamic microphone processing. It adds EQ, compression, a de-esser, and a couple other little settings to help you hear the full potential of the Rode Podmic if you add processing. This is what the Shure SM7B sounds like with the processing turned on the Rodecaster Duo. Again, this is not the specific SM7B settings. This is the same generic default dynamic microphone setting that we have on the Rode Podmic. It adds some EQ, compression, a de-esser, and a couple other settings to help you hear the full potential of the Shure SM7B. All right, now we turn the processing off on the Rodecaster Duo. So again, you're listening to the raw, unprocessed sound from either one of these microphones. Next, let's do a blind test to again give you another chance to help you hear how these microphones sound so you can compare them. No, it's not the computers. The computers were fine, and the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is indeed 42. The problem is that nobody knew what the question was. No, it's not the computers. The computers were fine, and the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is indeed 42. The problem is that nobody knew what the question was. All right, I just finished editing everything, so now let's go through it. I've heard exactly what you've heard so far. Now let's go through my report card and we can talk about all the similarities and differences and how I would rate either one of these microphones. First of all, in terms of build quality, I think both of these microphones are excellent. They're both all metal builds, really nice components. They have a good weight to them. I don't have any doubts whether or not either one of these microphones will stand the test of time. All right, next we have plosives. The Rode Podmic, I say, is needing help a little bit, and the Shure SM7B is excellent. When you look directly into the Shure SM7B, even with the smaller windscreen that comes with it, there's no issue with plosives whatsoever. Now for the Rode Podmic, when I say it needs help, This isn't a deal breaker for this microphone. I just think with what comes in the box, it doesn't do a good job of plosive protection. If your microphone is not off axis of you, you will get plosives in your recording. Now, it's not a deal breaker, like I said. You can get a cheap, inexpensive foam windscreen that fits the Rode Podmic and will make a world of difference for you. I'm going to quickly show you what a difference this can make. Peter put peanut butter on his pineapple pizza. 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 Now, if it sounds so much better with the foam windscreen, why don't I do that for the rest of the review? Well, it's simple. I review these microphones as to how they're given by the manufacturer. If it doesn't come with one in the box, I don't put it on the microphone. Next, in terms of noise rejection for both of these microphones, I think they both did excellent when it came to the keyboard test and the paper test and the white noise machine. Both of these do a really good job of rejecting that keyboard clicking and mouse clicks, the real things that happen when you are recording with either one of these microphones. They're both excellent here. Next, in terms of handling noise, I think both of them did okay. They're fair. You could hear that you're moving the microphone, but it wasn't so good that it gets an excellent mark, and it wasn't so bad that it ruins the recording or anything. You could hear that the microphone was moving, but it wasn't overly distracting. Next, in terms of frequency response, how do these microphones actually sound? What are the pros and cons, and what happens when I compare them? I know both of these microphones have a huge following. There's tons of people that are on Team Podmic, tons of people that are on Team Shure SM7B. So do take my opinion with a grain of salt. It is just my opinion when I listen to the test in this video. Now, first of all, if we're coming from the Shure SM7B into the Rode Podmic, to me, the Rode Podmic sounds more clean, clear, articulate, a little bit lighter sounding, easier to listen to. Now, when I say easier to listen to, that's the first thing when you switch between these microphones. It just sounds lighter and easier. You can hear what you're trying to hear. You can hear the person speaking, and that's a great thing. Now, when you transfer from the Rode Podmic into the Shure SM7B, the first word that always hits me is the word robust. You hear that warm, smooth, rounded sound of the Shure SM7B. It sounds nice and full, sounds nice and even. It sounds robust. Now, that's the positive way of looking at both of these microphones, but if you're a pessimist or a glass half empty sort of person, you could look at the negatives of either one of these microphones as well. When you switch from the Shure SM7B to the Rode Podmic, what some people will find sounds clean, clear, and articulate over a long enough period of time, some of those frequencies can get grating. It's not great to listen to a 90-minute podcast with the Rode Podmic unless you're doing some EQ work. The Rode Podmic also is a little bit more temperamental. It's not as good for as many people, I find, as the Shure SM7B. What sounds good on me might sound bad on somebody else. What sounds good on somebody else might sound bad on me. But I find that the Rode Podmic has a narrower operating window of people that it sounds good on. So that is just something to keep in mind. The people that like the Rode Podmic love the Rode Podmic. The people that dislike the Rode Podmic won't come within 10 feet of it. It's a bit more polarizing than, say, the Shure SM7B. That being said, if we want to be negative about the Shure SM7B when we're coming from the Rode Podmic to the Shure SM7B, and we're listening to the Shure SM7B for a long period of time, you crave that depth a little bit. It's a little bit too flat. I want to hear a little bit more articulation. It's a little bit too dark. If I'm going to be listening to something for a long period of time, I don't want it to entirely sound like it's muffled, which the Shure SM7B can sound like for a long period of time. So which one of these sound better? Well, it's completely subjective. I think, especially when we added processing on the Rodecaster Duo here, that definitely brought both of these microphones closer, I think, into how they sound and interact with my voice. And I think both of these microphones are within the acceptable window of being a broadcast, podcast, live stream microphone. I think they both can sound great. Depending on the person, you will want to maybe boost some upper frequencies of the Shure SM7B or dumb them down a little bit on the Rode Podmic. But I think we're splitting hairs at this point. I think both of these microphones are excellent when you're recording with them. And I think they both pass the test of what you're looking for with a podcast, live stream, vocal recording microphone. Now, next, and more importantly, is probably a discussion about price and value. If, in my opinion, both of these microphones sound excellent, the Rode Podmic has an issue with plosives, which you can resolve pretty easily with a foam windscreen. How do we rate the value? To me, I think the Rode Podmic is an excellent value. For the price, you're getting a lot of microphone from a professional company, and this thing will last the test of time. Yes, you probably should go out and buy a $10 foam windscreen because that'll strengthen the weakness of this microphone, in my opinion. But to me, that's an excellent value for the price with the Rode Podmic. Now, the Shure SM7B, I think, is a slightly better overall microphone, but the price really works against it here. When you look at the report card, the Shure SM7B has a higher score, but it's a worse value rating because the price is so high. Yes, this is a legendary microphone. Yes, this would probably be my desert island microphone, but it's just too expensive to recommend. It's cost prohibitive because of how expensive it is. You can get 4 pod mics for the price of the Shure SM7B. So if you're shopping in terms of value, I think the Rode Podmic is a much better value than the Shure SM7B. We've said a lot in this video, so what do I actually recommend after everything that we've gone through? I think if you're on a budget, the Rode Podmic, you can't go wrong. It's a great microphone for the price. If budget is no issue whatsoever, I think you should buy the Shure SM7B. I think all things being said, the Shure SM7B is the better microphone. Also, if you're one of those people that wants a clean, clear, and articulate microphone, if enunciation is the most important thing, this can be important if you're doing a lot of streaming and you have game noise. I don't like using the Shure SM7B for streaming because I end up having to scoop the EQ to let that game noise go through, and I'm hunting for more clarity to be heard above the game noise. So if that's you, then the Rode Podmic is a better use case for you. That being said, if you maybe have a more sibilant voice and you want that to be dumbed down a little bit, if you want something more smooth, more rounded, more dark, the Shure SM7B is definitely the microphone that you're looking for. So when you put everything into context here, the Rode Podmic is less expensive, higher value, and more easily intelligible. And the Shure SM7B is more expensive, it's more smooth, more dark, a little bit more rounded sounding, and it doesn't quite have the value, but it's still a better overall microphone in my opinion. I hope this video has been helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments or opinions of your own, please leave a comment down in the comment section below. Again, if you are looking for pricing or specs, we have links down in the description below. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.